Welcome. Today we're going to go ahead and take a look at membership reporting in the Church Windows program. We're just going to be looking at step one of the membership reporting. I'm going to show you real quickly. I am going to be using some workbook pages, but you don't have to have the workbook to understand what I'm showing you today. But if you own the workbooks or you're interested in purchasing workbooks, if you go to our website and look under Beginning and go to Training Workbooks, what I'm using, here we have some information about the prices of the workbooks and package deals. But if you look below, it shows descriptions of all the different workbooks. I'm using information from the very beginning of membership 204, pages 2 through 10. But again, you don't need the workbook to understand what I'm showing you today. Also, on your GoToWebinar toolbar, if it's your first time using the GoToWebinar, there's a little orangish red arrow on the side. If you click on that, that will open or close the toolbar. If you click on it again, that will open the toolbar back up. I won't be unmuting people to answer questions or ask questions. Instead, if you open the question panel on your GoToWebinar toolbar, you can type your questions in there. And I will answer those. I'll probably wait until the end to answer those out loud for everyone. So if you want to hold off to the end with your questions, you might find I answer it as I'm working through the materials. And try to keep your questions to today's topic. We're just, again, looking at membership reports and just the step one screen. If you have questions that involve your data or more detailed in questions or questions about another function or module, give us a call or an email and we'd be happy to help out. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at membership reporting. I already opened membership to save time. So to go into reporting, let's just talk briefly about some of the reporting functions. Right in the middle of the screen, we have shortcuts for the most commonly used functions. So if I click on reports right in the middle with the big printer, wait just a moment. That will open up step one, the screen we're going to talk about here in a moment. Select who should appear on the report. I'm going to close that. And if we look up along the top, we also have reports and export along the top of our screen. And then the first button, reports and labels. And here we see we can choose from reports, directory, or an export. If we choose that top option, we'll be able to do any of those items in that function, or labels. Now, if we choose reports directory export, that is the same thing as if we clicked reports right here in the middle, the shortcut. So that's just the middle here, reports, is just a quicker way to get to the same thing as reports export, reports and labels, and then reports directory export. Now this is where you want to go if you're going to do just a more general search query for a report or a directory or an export. If you want to do a birthday or an anniversary or a group's skills, groups, classes, skills, interest report, there are already preset reports that have preset layouts in step two specifically for those functions. Now, if you want a birthday or anniversary or group skill report, you're not going to click on the shortcut. I've had many calls where people click on the shortcut, reports, and once you do that, you are into report. You've chosen generic reports. You can't now go up to birthday and choose reports and have this change to be a birthday report. You've already chosen your reports screen. So if you want a birthday, anniversary, or group skill report, you're not going to click down here at all. You're going to go up to reports export, click on birthday, and then reports directory export. And notice when you do that, it pops the edit people selection screen right up with birth date for your current month right on the screen. Same thing if I go up to anniversary and choose reports, and I could choose any of these and it would be very similar, but we're just looking at step one of the reports right now. When I do anniversary, notice it pops up with marriage date in the month of February. I close this and show you real quickly the group skills. Either one of these will do the same thing, so I'll just show you groups classes here. If I go to reports directory export, it doesn't take me right to step one. It opens up step one and takes me that step farther, already having groups classes selection on the screen for me to go ahead and choose a group or class. So if you're trying to do a birthday, an anniversary, or a group skills report, and you're just getting this screen when you first open up reports, then you probably just clicked reports right here. And that won't do these preset canned reports, as I call them. So again, if you want any of these special reports, click on Reports Export up here first, and then make your selection. And if you choose reports in the middle, remember, you're not going to get that screen popping up with your birthday, anniversary, or group skills already ready for you to just choose which one you want right at the get-go. All right. So we just want you to know about some of those. Now, if you're following along the workbooks, I'm going to go ahead and move to page 3. And let's go ahead and talk about just the generic reports. And the birthday, anniversary, and group skills, that opening screen, it's the same as what I'm going to show you in reports. Those reports, again, just pop right up the specific thing you're looking for, birthday, anniversary, or group skills. So let's just go ahead and click on reports right in the middle of the screen. Now, if you're coming from an older module, version 22 is what we're showing you today, and it did change slightly. A lot of people panicked, but everything you had before is still here. If you're new to the program, then this is all new to you. Edit people selection criteria. If you look, we have, let me just start over. If you look, we have several options here. We have number 1, edit people selection criteria. And when I click on that in a bit, you're going to see that's the screen you usually were used to seeing when you opened reports. So that's just moved to be a button now. You have an and or an or where you can connect people selection criteria to your giving and pledging criteria, which if you move down to number 3, we have add giving pledging selection criteria. Now, if you've come from an older module, this used to be a tab along the top called giving pledging. So that's just moved from being a tab down to being a button. And what this does is it allows churches that want to build multiple lines of giving and pledging criteria that opportunity, because you can now add one giving pledging criteria, then say and add another and another. Let me show you. So we'll get to that momentarily. Now across the top we have some tabs. We have the query builder, which I believe it used to be called, the tab used to be called options or people. But basically it's telling you this is the screen where you're going to build the query of who you want to get on the report. And that's that you get the output from on step 2. The next tab is accounts. You had this tab in the past versions as well. And this, you'd only use this if you're querying on donations. So here we can move accounts back and forth. If you're doing a donation query and you don't choose anything on the accounts tab, then it's just going to look at all of your accounts. And then last, well, let me show you real quick. To move them back or forth, you just highlight and use the arrow to move it over. And then if you want to move it back, you can also double click to move things. So I can double click and move things over, or double click to move them back. I believe you can highlight, yes, with your shift or control key, you can highlight multiple things and move them all over at once. Or if I highlight the top one and shift, I can highlight them all and move them back. So that's how you move those back and forth. You also at the top, I almost missed it here, if you're querying on a pledge and you want to look at a particular campaign, you can right here choose the campaign you want and query just a campaign rather than an account. All right, now we move to the sort tab. The sort tab, a lot of people think this is where you choose the fields that will be on the report. This is actually the order, how it will sort the data, what order the data will be in on the report. So here we have it set to sort by name, last, first, alphabetic, or if you look, you have just about almost any field available that you could sort by. We're just going to leave that set to sort by name, but you can sort by up to 3 fields if you'd like to. All right, so let's go back to the Query Builder tab and let's look at this in a little more in depth. Number 1 is Edit People Selection Criteria. And if I click on this, this is the screen. If you haven't seen the new 22 yet, this is what you're probably used to seeing when you open up reports, Edit People Selection, where I can query to find certain people. We're going to look at maybe we want a status code of active. So upper left where it says select a membership field, I can click the down arrow if I want, or I think it's easier to just start typing. Now status matches the word state, so I have to get all the way to U before it narrows down and shows me status up near the top. But you can search for the item in the list and click on it, or you can start typing the name of what you're looking for and it will narrow down to what you're typing. So I'll select status code, and it brings up my status code selection, and I'm going to choose active, associate, and out-of-town member, and click plus add to selection. So here I just choose what I need. I could do select all or clear all. Now, if I'd like, I can go ahead and add more criteria. Maybe I want people with these status codes who don't have an email because I'm trying to send something out to people without emails. So I can then do an and then I can go back to select membership field and find the next thing I want. So I'm going to say email is blank and plus selection, and that adds that down below, and I can see my query being built down in the lower half of the left side. Select membership individuals fitting these criteria means when I hit OK and move next to the second screen, it will show me the people who have a status code of one of the following and their email address is blank. Let me really quickly, somebody said they can't hear, so let me let her know, yes, we are recording this. So yes, we do record these and we will put videos up. Usually it's the same day, but that will be up in our support center. So I want to just let her know that real quick. All right, so back to, well, you're looking at the book. I'm flipping to page 5, and we're going to look at some of the other options on this screen. If you are doing a query that concerns donations, you can up in the upper right include people with or without a number. You can ask for a specific giver range. You can click the plus sign here and create a certain range. You'd put in a description and then what that giver number range would be. And then you'd build different ranges here if you ever need them. Here we see we have one built of children's envelopes, 200 to 250. And then any of the items you select or check or change here, it would make sure the people fit that criteria. Below that, you'll see the different categories you've created in your people files, and you can check or uncheck the categories you want. And then below that, you can include people you've marked inactive in membership or donations. Membership groups, if you check that, that would be the actual groups and classes you've set up, not the people in them, but the like first grade, second grade. Some churches, their groups do give money, so they want to be able to have the groups available in donations. So that's why you have an option for membership groups now. Or you could also check donation individual or group givers. But keep in mind, these last two items are not limited by membership field selections because donation individuals and donation group givers only, that only records their name, address, and phone number and email over in donations if you only create that limited record of them in donations and you don't make one in membership. All right. So then we also, the and or, we talked about that, but the and or on page 5. Let me go ahead. Once we have everything here that we need, we can click OK or cancel if we don't need this. We're going to click OK. And bottom of page 5 mentions the and or at step 2 here. So if we wanted to build criteria that included the people criteria we just added, and we want to also do some giving or pledging, we can go ahead and choose and or. It defaults to and. If we're not doing anything having to do with giving and pledging, we could just go ahead and click next. And you'll see it will really quickly fill this in saying all regardless of giving and all regardless of pledging. So I'm going to hit back though because we're not going into step 2 today, but I wanted you to see how it, if you don't put any giving and pledging, it just ignores that and says all regardless of pledging and all regardless of giving. Somebody else says they don't have audio, so my audio is showing as coming through, so I'm not sure what's going on. So unfortunately, it's just me and I can't stop the class to fix someone's audio. I'm sorry. So giving, pledging, let's go ahead and look at that. Top of page 6, if I click on Add Giving, Pledging Selection Criteria, we see the Giving, Pledging screen. And again, this used to be a tab along the top, but now it's a button. Thank you. Somebody said their audio is fine. So yeah, unfortunately, not all technology works the same, but thank you for letting me know yours is coming through. I mean, I can see my little audio thing is showing when I talk that it's moving, so hopefully their audio will work. But we do record them, so it will be up later. Here, let me type that. This is a different person as well. The video will be up later. All right. Sorry about that, folks. All right, back to giving pledging. If you are going to do a query that you want to query on giving or pledging, you can click here and you can choose giving all, only those you gave. You can put in giving for a certain amount, or you can ask for people who did not give. And then you can also do the same for the pledging criteria, and you can connect those with an and or an or. Upper right, we have some different options for receiving statement, including everybody, or just people who are marked to receive a statement, or people marked not to receive a statement. Or do you want to see people who give with a family? You want to see everyone, or people just mark gives with family, or people who don't give as a family. And then below here, you can change your date range. To the side here, you can click the minus year button. People seem to miss those. And that really quickly, if you're just trying to change your date range back or forward for the whole year, you can just click that little minus or plus year to go back and forth the whole year. Or if you set a specific date range on that screen and you want it to go back a year for that specific date range, same thing as well. All right, so we're not going to add any giving or pledging criteria. Oh, I'm sorry, I lied. Let me go ahead. We're going to try looking for people who pledged last year. So I'll change my year back to 2019. So we'll say all and only those who pledged. And this is one of the main reasons we've changed the giving and pledging to be a button and why things changed in reports. And this allows people to query on more than one giving and pledging thing. Before, when it was a tab, you could only have one choice. So here we ask for, let me remove the line we had there before. So now we have people in 2019, regardless of giving, they only pledged. And then we're going to go back to add giving. I'm going to say and then we want to see people who did not pledge, regardless of giving. They did not pledge in 2020. So I can click add. So now if you're trying to find people who gave the or who pledged the prior year and have not pledged this year, you have that ability to do those comparisons on that giving and pledging selection tab. So here we're looking at people who pledged in 19 and in 2020 they have not pledged. So while, these changes do make it a little, learning curve, you have to figure out where things are now. The change, I think, to reports here is really a good one because it allows you more flexibility with giving and pledging. It allows you to build criteria for that giving and pledging for churches who want it. And maybe this isn't useful for your church, but some churches, this is really useful for them. All right, so let's go ahead. If we look at page 7, I guess I got ahead of myself. Page 7 talks about the Accounts tab. And when I went through, when I was just briefly telling you about those, I guess I went into a lot of detail about how the accounts, you can move them back and forth, how the campaign works at the top. Same for the Sort tab, got ahead of myself there. Instead of just showing it to you, I went ahead and showed you how it works. Now, Sort Field 3 will open up once we choose something in Sort Field 2 because before it was grayed out. Now, one thing I want to show you that I didn't think about before, and we are getting close to the end here, birth date. If I choose a date field, notice down here in the lower left, this opened up, sort order for date fields. Here I can choose if I wanted to sort by year first or by month first. So when you have a date field, you can choose how it's going to sort that specific date field. All right. So now we can click on, if we click Reset Sort, that's going to set it back to the default. A lot of times on the phone, people ask, should I click that after we've set it? If I do that, it's going to set it back to name, last, first, alphabetical. So if you want to go back to your default, that's what Reset Sort is for. All right, last thing I want to show you. Maybe you go in and you run the same query every month or every week or every day. Instead of having to put all these little bits and pieces in every time, down along the bottom here, we can save our criteria. So if I click the little save icon at the end of the line, and then I put in a name, active 2020 non-pledgers, we'll call it. I just kind of made up my own search query here, kind of went off the workbook since I added two things at once here, the top edit people and then the giving pledging. So if I say OK here, and go to next, we only have 2 people who met that criteria, so that's good. All our people who pledged last year are pledging this year. I just wanted to go forward. Now, if I close out, I'll even close out of donations and church windows for you. Now, if I go back in, type in a quick note to this person who still can't hear me. All right. So now if I go back into, oops, put church windows over on my second screen. Here we go. Go back into membership and go to reports. Now I know we said we'd be done at 20 after. If you need to leave, you can go ahead. I'm almost done. I'm going to stick around to answer questions. Now right here, if I go ahead down where it says Save Selections, if I click the little down arrow here, we see active 2020 non-pledgers, and if I click on that, it pops all that criteria in right for me, so I don't have to go up and click on all the buttons and build my query. I've saved it, so now every week I can go ahead and run this query. If you have a query that has date information in it, then that's one time when you might need to edit it. So I can go to edit things here, and then if I change things and hit next, it would ask if I want to change or save my changes, and I could say yes to that. Let me go ahead and show you that because that did mention that at the bottom here. So let's go ahead and change this to, maybe we wanted to look at 2018. So we'll say add, hit next, and it sees that I made a change to that saved selection, and it's asking, do you want to save those changes? If you want to save the changes, say yes. If not, say no. I'll say no because I'm just doing it for once. And then it moves on to step 2. All right, and now again, we're not really discussing step 2. This was just about pages 2 through 10 up through the end of step 1. That's all I'd like to show you today.